Hey friends, so today I'm going to go over how I made these horns out of foam and foam clay, which is really exciting. Cosplay Crafts sent me a little thing. Let me find it. Here it is. A thing of craft foam. You can get this on their website for $9.99, which is really cheap considering how much I got out of this. All these little like ridges are foam clay, and I also have these axes that I made. A lot of these are foam clay, including the little gem in here and these little spike things, so a lot of this is foam clay as well. After using this stuff, I will definitely be using this in probably every single build of mine now. I love this stuff so much. It's so great. I don't know how I've lived without it for so long, but it's wonderful. So yeah, sorry for my messy ass hair right now. I need to redo my roots, and now I'm considering dyeing my hair this color, so we'll see. But let's just jump right into the video, which is the first day that I got the foam clay, and you can see my reaction. I am so cringe. They did send me a little like sample to go with it. So before I open that, I'm going to open this and kind of get an idea of what it is. Because it seems so interesting. I'm going to be making a few things with this. Oh, so light too. On my axes over here, I will be making some little gems. I'm not doing them out of resin because I want them to be painted into more of a cartoony style look. We'll be using foam clay for those gems. Anyway, so from what I know, this has a 24-hour curing time, I believe. So in 24 hours, I can sand and paint this.
My goodness.
Oh my god! Whoa! Look at that.
Interesting.
Yeah, it picks up so much detail, so this would be really good for like pressing into a mold if you need like detail on like certain armor or something. Oh my gosh. Alright, so enough gushing over how cool this stuff is. Let's make some stuff with it. Yes, making stuff out of stuff. So the first thing that I made were the gems that I put on the axes, which I'm gonna have full videos on those later. They're also not complete yet, so that's why they probably look like just garbage right now. First, I made a reference out of some insulation foam. I didn't use insulation foam for the end just because I don't like the way that it turns out, kind of. It really depends. I also just really wanted to use the foam. I did this by rolling the clay into a ball, pressed it on the table, and then I cut it away with a kitchen knife, apparently, which I have now made a craft room knife. It does not go back in the kitchen. So I use water to help shape this a little bit better. Water also helps blend it together. So yeah, that's how the gem turned out. So I made 2 of these to go on my axes. It's also really wonderful just for squishing, just for fun, because it's so squishy, but I was just kind of working it up. When you massage it like this, you get the oils all dispersed and makes it nice and ready to start making stuff with. So I also made some little spikes that go around the head of one of the axes. You can also apply it directly to your prop or armor, and it instantly adds details. It's so awesome. It's really good for filling seams as well. So if you have any seams or any little mistakes or something, just fill it with some foam clay, and it doesn't shrink nearly as much as like Quick Seal does. So for the horns, I built 2 out of tin foil to get the general shape, and I thought I was going to be putting it directly onto the foil, but it did not stick. I hated it. It was really difficult. I also figured that would have been a lot of clay. So what I did was I covered one of them in masking tape. I drew on a pattern that would allow it to lay flat. I cut it out, put it on foam, and I glued it all together. I won't bore you with all that because I'm having a whole separate tutorial just on that itself. I would also like to put up the horn pattern for everyone to download, as well as like ear patterns and stuff, so I'm still figuring that stuff out. So I won't bore you with all of that because you're here for foam clay, which is what we're doing now. We're going to put the foam clay directly onto the horns that I made. What's awesome about this is that it sticks to the foam really, really well. So I started just forming it with my hands, and I used some water to help shape it. and water also helps reactivate it if it dries out a little bit, and then you can remold it from there. I didn't really have a method. I'm just kind of like going at it. I'm really bad at sculpting. I don't do it often at all. Like, I don't play with clay that often, but it was really, really fun to practice. A little lesson for today. What happens with stuff that has water in it? The water evaporates. And then what happens? The stuff that had the water in it shrinks and it cracks. So I completely expected this to happen. The clay did crack and I filled it back in with more clay. I wish that like I didn't lose the footage of what it looked like when it was cracked. It wasn't horrible. Like, honestly, it really wasn't bad, but I just filled it back in with some more clay and a little bit of quick seal. The little spikes that I made and the gems did not crack at all. I did not put much water into either of those little details, but the horns I put a lot of water in because I was working on it for so long. For sanding, you have to be very, very careful when you're sanding this. Use a high grit sandpaper or fine sandpaper. Something that isn't rough at all because it can like just completely like destroy it. Like, this stuff's sensitive, okay? Don't take your Dremel and just start like attacking it with something really, really intense. But I'm basically just knocking off the high edges and smoothing everything out just a little bit more, just to make sure it's nice and smooth and pretty and stuff, you know? I mean, yeah, they're horns and they're supposed to be organic, but I want them a little bit smooth. So after that, my dumbass jumped the gun and I started plasti dipping, even though I wasn't done like putting the details in. And as soon as I got into plasti dipping, I was like, oh, I forgot to burn in the details. That's like the one thing I really, really wanted to do, was test this stuff with my soldering iron and just see like how it reacted. So I was like, okay, I'm still gonna put the details in anyway. So with all of my windows open and my respirator on, seriously, this is so toxic. Like, do not do this inside. I made some fun little cracks and some lines and just whatever would be typical on a dragon horn, and it worked really well. It worked just like I was burning in my normal EVA. So it's not sensitive to like heat, but the instant you try to sand it, it's like, I'm out, I'm gone. And then just real quick, I'm gonna interrupt us here. I wanna show you what burning the details into a fully cured piece without plasti dip on it looks like. And it looks just like regular foam. Like, look how pretty that is. Imagine all the cool like details and stuff you can burn into this. Okay, and look at how durable it is. It's so squishy. Back to whatever I was doing. So I went ahead and airbrushed the horns white so that I could have a nice base for these colors that I'm going to put on. And I will be playing with these colors, so kind of like it almost reminds me of like the ocean and like a sunset. I don't know. Purple, dark blue, and then like a light minty blue. Kind of like those old Solo cups, if you remember those. So yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna do the colors yet, but we're gonna experiment and see what happens. I also just use normal acrylic paint watered down in my airbrush. This works totally fine as long as you know how to clean your airbrush, because it will clog it. So I start with a coat of that beautiful blue. I did like 2 or 3 coats of this blue just to make sure everything was covered. I then add some of that purple to darken around the spikes. And then I add dark blue to further darken up the spiky doodads. After that, I mix the dark blue that I had with some black, and then I put that behind the spikes. Like, I sprayed that behind the spikes. It just gives it more depth and like definition and stuff. Then once I'm done with all of that, I want to darken up those little details that I put in earlier. I mix up a little bit of that blue with a tiny bit of black just to darken it up a little bit, and I take a very fine brush and I just sit there and I darken up all the details, and that's really it. That's all of the things that I did to make these horns. They were really, really easy. So if you like horns and stuff, and you're like, dang, I want to make some horns. You should make some horns because horns are fun. Okay, anyway. I think that's everything that I wanted to say. Thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out. If you want to see more behind the scenes stuff, feel free to check out my Patreon, which is Forging S'mores as well. It really helps out. Speaking of which, thank you so much to my patrons: Adam Hunt, Aliar, Anime Crush, Anon, Blue Panda, Calvin Lewis, David Rosenbaum, Eric, Franz, Jenny Lynn, Jim W, John Doe, Kalika Kaiser, Kate Williams, Logan Don Carlos, Lord Kenway, Malice Meriden, Murakitten, Nathan M, Ninja Ruki, Nan Aman, Rob Thompson, Robert Gallardo, Rusty Shackelford, Suck It Up, Valdemir, and Yandere Dream Girl. Thank you guys so much. Have a super awesome rest of the day. Go do awesome creative things, and I will see you guys next week. Okay, bye. Mountains